Hi, I'm David Robson, and this is Yelena, and welcome to the video on unique vinyasas. What are unique vinyasas? Well, over the course of these videos, we've been talking about first how to deepen the experience of videos, and then we've kind of looked at the different ways that you could do jump backs and jump throughs, or jumping forward and jumping back from Surya Namaskar. And I would consider those kind of standard vinyasas. So unique vinyasas are the different kinds of vinyasas that we do for specific poses. And usually these are vinyasas that are directed through the teaching. We're told to do the vinyasa a certain way. So they only show up once or twice in the practice each time. And of course, most of them are pretty hard. So I thought it would be interesting for us to look just at the unique vinyasas that show up in the primary series of Ashtanga Yoga. And Yelena here is going to demonstrate while I describe the work that we're going to do. Okay, so probably the first really interesting unique vinyasa that shows up is the one in Utkatasana, which is uneven pose, or sometimes people call it chair pose, in not in Surya Namaskar, though it shows up there, but the actual jump back from the pose Utkatasana in the primary series. So let's watch Yelena demonstrate it, and then we can break it down a little bit. Okay, so let's do it from downward dog. We'll do the whole vinyasa. And so it starts here, sapta. On the inhale, you jump from downward dog into the state of the asana. You end up here holding the posture at the end of the inhale. Hold for 5 breaths. And then ashtau, on the inhale, hands down, rock forward, up. And nava, exhale, come down into Chaturanga Dandasana, just like that. And then inhale, upward dog, exhale, downward dog. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. First, let's look at the vinyasa in. So we're going to go all the way from downward dog. On one inhale, we're going to jump forward, feet to the hands, bend the knees, and lift the arms, so that we're starting the inhale here in downward dog, and then we're ending the inhale in the posture. So this is just one breath. So are you ready? Inhale, bend the knees and hop, feet together. That's it. Lift the arms, look at the thumbs. Exhale here, and that would be 1. Okay, 2, 3, 4, and then finish your 5th exhale here. Ashtau, on your inhale, your hands come down, and you're going to rock forward, pick up, extend the legs. Nava, exhale, come down into Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay. Now there's 2 sort of accepted versions of this pose. Really there's one correct one, the one that my teacher wants us to do, which is bent elbow. But there's also a straight arm version. I think you'll find the straight arm version is much easier than the bent elbow version. So starting in Utkatasana again, we'll look at it. It's kind of like a crouch handstand, or a tuck handstand. So Yelena is going to come forward. She's going to keep the knees bent. And so laying the torso on the legs, hands to the floor, rock forward. She's going to do a little jump into this tuck handstand and then come down to Chaturanga. Okay? So it requires this jump. And if you've been watching the other videos before in this sequence, in the series, then you'll have done some of this work already. So we won't bother so much with coming in right now. Suffice to say that it's all on the inhale, the hands to the floor. And now from here, the knees stay bent. You don't straighten the legs. Torso is on the thighs. Shift your weight forward into the toes. And from all the work that we've already done in the previous videos, you know, the arms are straight, spinning in, index knuckles on the floor, shoulders pressed back, nice round upper back. And then from here, she's going to do a little hop up, but she doesn't want to come into too much of an arch position. So she's going to try to keep the knees against the chest. It's a tuck handstand, kind of the hardest handstand that you can do. So you ready? So lean forward and do a little inhale hop. And when she hops, she's going to squeeze the legs towards the body, and you could even try squeezing your legs together. Maybe a good place to practice this movement is against a wall, you know? So you could have the wall behind you, hands on the floor, And maybe it's your head and not your back that's going to come touch the wall. Lean forward first, come onto the toes, feel the weight in the arms, and then using your legs but not straightening them. Keep the knees bent when you jump. You can bring your middle back towards the wall, or your head can touch the wall. You ready? Okay, so go ahead on the inhale, jump, squeeze the legs together. Good. Try that again. Lean forward, inhale, you jump, squeeze the legs. Good, come down. One more time. So it looks like she's working pretty hard, but actually it's me behind her giving her these cues that's making it look so smooth. So, okay, try again. Lean forward on the inhale, jump. Good. Okay, great. And then from here, again, similar work to what we've talked about already in the jump backs and jump throughs. You're going to bend the elbows and lower yourself down. Ultimately, you're trying to do this all on that same exhalation so that from the straight arm tuck handstand, you lower down over the count of, say, 4 for the exhalation. So it's supposed to be a slow descent. That's really tough. It's going to take a while to do. So maybe what you do is you lower almost to chaturanga and then use the rest of the exhalation to lower into the full expression of Chatwari, Chaturanga Dandasana. Okay, so one more time. She's going to lean forward. She's going to hold the knees against the stomach as she inhales. Come up. Good, good. That's it, lower down. Good. Try again. Lean forward and inhale up. Good, and then bend, exhaling. 3, 4. Good. Okay. Utkatasana. Should we do the bent elbow one? Let's do the bent elbow. So this one's really tough. I don't usually teach it in workshops or to my students because it's quite demoralizing. It's very difficult. But let's look at the work. So if you come into that same squat like you're going to do the straight arm one again, knees are bent, hands on the floor. But now, before she jumps up, before she lifts, she's going to bend the elbows. And the rule, again, of course, is elbows stay over the wrists. That's it. And the shoulders and the head start to come forward. If you get into this position, this squat with the heels lifted and start to bend your elbows, you'll feel how much strength it's going to require. So tons of upper body strength. And then also tons of core strength because you have to hold your body and your legs together as the head and the shoulders tip forward. That's what's going to lift the feet. You ready? Okay. Yeah. All right. So from here, Utkatasana on the inhale, hands down, knees stay bent, start to bend the elbows. As the head come down, the feet come up, extend the legs to Chatwari. Okay. Let's see it again. Good. Inhale, keep the knees bent, hands down, bend the elbows as she bends. That's what lifts the legs, extend, and exhale with control coming down. Good, not bad. Try it a couple times, you'll feel the work of it. So you can do straight arm. Straight arm is fine as long as you don't come into a full handstand. But it's very interesting to start to work on that bent elbow, upper body strength as well. And you'll see we do the same thing in Virabhadrasana, the next unique vinyasa we're going to work on. So let's look at that. Virabhadrasana follows a similar pattern to the vinyasa of Utkatasana. Here we would have just finished the sequence, the Virabhadrasana sequence. So we're on Virabhadrasana B, the second version, and on the right side is where we end. And so as we finish the last exhale here, it's Yikadasha, inhale, the hands come down and you come up. Dwadasha, exhale, Chatwari. Now she's doing the bent elbow version again, the lift. Let's see the straight arm version. This is the one we'll work on. Okay, again, Yikadasha, inhale, hands down, lift up, exhale, Chatwari position. Okay. So moving a little bit slower from the posture Virabhadrasana, it's kind of like a cartwheel. You ever do cartwheels? Probably not, well, maybe you've done them recently, but maybe not in a while. It's like a cartwheel that doesn't go anywhere. It sounds depressing. You're going to bring the left arm over and both hands down. I would put them in front of your right foot to start. It's a bit easier. And then see the right knee stays bent and the foot on the floor. The left leg is going to kick up first. When the left leg comes up, you're going to spin it in and really plug the thigh into the hip. So it's like you're pulling the femur into the hip so that when you lift the leg, it's going to lift the torso. And you're going to swing the left leg up and use the momentum of the left leg to lift up into a little mini handstand. When you lift up with the left leg, keep the right knee bent. Okay, so go ahead, kick up. Good. And then once you've got that balance position, again, it's just going to be bending the elbows and bringing your chest forward as you come down. Okay, so let's try one more time. So from Virabhadrasana, Ekadasha, inhale, both hands down, rock forward, kick up. Dwadasha, exhale, Chatwari position. Okay, still with us? Let's try Virabhadrasana with the bent elbows. So if you tried Utkatasana bent elbows, you realize this is hard. It's worse now with Virabhadrasana because now one of your legs is behind you. It's going to hold you back. So both arms come down. This time, the right foot is going to lift first. Right foot lifts, the knee against the body, and then as the chest shifts forward, you can do a little hop with the back leg to lift up, and then shoot the right leg back into Chaturanga Dandasana. Good, try again. If you have a friend, they can help you here. So you're going to bring both your hands down, lift the right foot. They can catch your left leg and help you come up, and then you shoot the right leg back and lower down with control. Something you can begin to work on in your practice. So if you want to work on it, if you want to slow it down, we'll do one more time. I'll show you the technique that you can try to bring into your practice. So you're going to bring both hands down to the floor, and then you're going to really push into the hands. Keep your arms straight at first. You can lift your left heel and lift your right foot. Keep the right knee against your body, and then start to shift, and you're going to kick off with your left leg as you bend the elbows and shoot the right leg back. And you'll start to feel all the work in the upper body, how hard that is. So the right foot is going to lift, the left heel will come up, shift your weight forward, start to bend, and lift. Shoot the right leg back, Chaturanga. Okay? If you start to work on this in your practice, that's that little foot up and then come forward, bending the elbows, you'll start to feel the work and the strength building in your upper body. And so the more you do it, the slower you'll be able to make it. Okay, so those are the unique vinyasas, Utkatasana and Virabhadrasana. Each of them only happens that one time in the practice. So maybe it's worth working on it later in the day, but in your practice you'll just do it once. And then the next unique vinyasa we encounter is Tiriyang Mukha Ekapada Paschimottanasana. This is what that pose looks like. It's with one leg folded and one leg extended. So Sapta, inhale, the right knee bends, the left leg stretches out, and we get set up. So in this sense, the unique vinyasa is that we're jumping straight into the setup for the posture. Usually most of the poses we jump through with both the legs in front and then organize the legs into whatever the conditions of the pose are. For this, we're jumping straight into the setup, okay? And you can see it looks a little tricky, fancy, but there is a trick to it. So from downward dog, you're going to come halfway forward with your right foot and bring the top of the right foot down onto the floor. And now you can use this foot for a little bit of extra leverage, a little bit of extra strength. The arms stay straight, and you can see her weight is shifted forward. And now you should be able to support your body weight with your right foot and your arms. Bring your left leg forward, and then through your arms. It doesn't have to stay straight. If you noticed, Yelena bent the knee to bring the leg through. It makes it a bit easier on the hamstring. You could keep it straight, but you could bend it and let it rotate out just a little bit to make room to get the leg through. Once the leg is all the way through, you'll slide your hips forward and come down with the heel and the right hip touching. Good. And then to come back, we'll do the same thing. Your hands come down by your knees. You'll shift your weight forward onto the hands. Hips lift up. And now she's going to use this right foot again. She's pushing it down into the floor. She can bend the left leg if she wants. She's pulling it back between the arms. And you can use the right foot to launch yourself up and then lower down Chaturanga. Okay, inhale. Good. Exhale. Well, let's try the other side. Good. So now the right leg is out, left leg is bent, and then she's going to shift the weight forward here, and she's going to push through the left foot, drag the right leg back and through, up, and then bend the elbows lower down. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Let's jump through on the left side. So you're going to jump through by bringing your left foot forward onto the top of the foot, push into the foot, bring the right leg through, slide the hips forward, and sit down. If you do it fast enough and smoothly, no one can tell that you're kind of cheating with the back foot. Okay, so on the inhale, good, and exhale, fold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Shodasha, inhale, head up, exhale there, no count, no movement. Saptadasha, your hands down, rock forward, pick up, exhale, Ashtadasha, Chatwari. Good, inhale, upward dog, and exhale, downward dog. Okay, so another unique vinyasa that shows up is a straight leg jump through. And this one is optional. Actually, you could do the straight leg jump through instead of the bent leg jump through for all of the postures. My experience has been that I did that when I heard that it was okay. I started to do the straight leg jump through all the time. My experience was that I started to lose my core strength, because once you can do the straight leg jump through, it's actually a lot easier than the bent leg one. It requires less upper body strength. But it does require hamstring flexibility. You have to be able to get into a pretty deep forward bend, I find, to get the legs through. And again, I've figured out a way, a little bit of a cheat to make it a bit easier, even though it's still pretty hard. So the trick for this pose is not to try to come through with your legs perpendicular to the floor and then swing the legs through. It's to try to straighten the legs before you jump through, or to try to get the legs at least to point forward before you jump through. Okay, so can you demonstrate the straight leg jump through first? Inhale, bend the knees and jump through. Good. Okay. All right, and so go back again, downward dog. Let's break it down a little bit. So instead of trying to jump into like a handstand and then swing the legs through, Yelena's bending the knees and dropping the hips slightly so that the femurs start to angle forward. Can you see that? The knees aren't pointed straight down at the ground. They're starting to point forward. And then when she jumps, she's keeping the angle of the femurs forward, and she's flicking the shins forward to bring the feet through. So she's not so much jumping up as jumping through. Okay, watch. Inhale, jump. And then she's keeping the weight in the arms as she jumps so that she can control the landing. You don't want to just slide through really sloppy. You want to try to keep pushing into the arms the whole time. You want to do a sloppy one? It's always fun. So this doesn't count as a straight leg jump through. You need to try to control the descent the whole way down so that it's almost like you're doing an L sit and landing down. Good. Okay, the arms have to work the whole time. Straight leg jump back's a little bit harder. We'll wait to work on that one. But opportunities for straight leg jump through could be into Dandasana, the setup for Paschimottanasana, or Navasana. That's a great place to jump straight legs into. And then in the second half of primary series, we have a bunch of straight leg forward bends that are good spots to jump through straight legs. So what I like to do in my own practice is when I'm doing the side poses, like Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana, or Janu Shirshasana, or Marichasanas, those ones I jump through with crossed legs. When I'm doing the straight leg poses, like Paschimottanasana, Navasana, and then later on all the Konasana stuff, then I jump through straight legs. Finally, the last unique vinyasa we're going to look at isn't really a jump through, it's Chakrasana, the backwards roll. A lot of people have problems with this. It's a difficult vinyasa for some people, so I think it's worth breaking it down. Now this is a unique vinyasa. It shows up only after some of the postures in primary series and then in the closing sequence. So I think the first time it shows up would be Supta Padangushtasana. Is that right? Yeah. And then it shows up again for Setu Bandhasana, this pose here. Okay, so can you demonstrate? There's two versions that we're going to look at. One is kind of a backward somersault, and one is a backwards flip. Of course, the harder version is the correct one. Okay, so we lie back. And then inhale, the legs come back and over, and we roll back into Chatwari position. That was the harder version. Usually the way that you learn it is going to be more like a backward somersault, where you don't end up right at the end of the flip in Chaturanga, but more in something like downward dog. So the legs come over, and you come into something like Halasana position with the hips over the shoulders. Hands come back by the ears. And this is key. You want to try to get the elbows over the wrists. So if the shoulders are tight, you'll feel like the elbows are collapsing out to the sides. If that's happening, try turning your hands out, away from your head, so that you're directing the elbows more in towards each other. And then the problem is that it's difficult to get the weight to come into the hands if the shoulders are a bit tight, if the back's too curved. So you're just going to try to get your feet to come as far back as you can. And what I do then, if I'm feeling tight in the shoulders, hard to get into the hands, is I lift through the hips, lift through the legs as high as I can, and then exhale, use the weight of the hips coming back to roll. Sometimes even that's not enough, so you might need to kind of collapse into the roll. You could even bend your knees to roll back. So you get into position, again, into Halasana, hands back by the ears. Lift through the hips, lift through the legs, start to slide the feet back, bend the knees to drop the weight down, and you just come back onto your legs. This is a good way to learn how to come over. It's important when you're doing this too that you're not using your neck. So you just have to relax your neck. You have to let the weight roll over the head in that pose. Don't try to push with your head, because that's when you start to get a sore neck from doing it. Also, if you're collapsing to either side, be careful, because you're putting a lot of pressure on either side of your neck, and that can lead to some kind of strain. Okay, so let's look at the flip, the more professional one. So this time, when she rolls back, instead of rolling all the way back onto the feet, she's going to pull the head and the shoulders forward and through. Let's watch. So legs come back up and over. And so do you see the difference here is that her elbows stayed over her wrist, and then as she was coming through, she pushed into the hands and slid the shoulders and the head forward through the arms. So watch one more time. Just going to inhale, lift up, go back and over, and then the head flicks through, the shoulders come through. Can you do it one more time, Yelena? And maybe just like a little slower. All right. So we're going to come up and through. Okay, so this is the one that you'll want to work on. No matter what, you'll find that you're going to end up farther back on your mat. And it's one of those little mysteries of Vinyasa, is you're supposed to end up in Chaturanga ready for the next pose, but you're far back, so you need to travel back up to the front. Unless you start Chakrasana way up at the front of the mat, and then you'll roll back and be in the right position. Either way, be careful of everything around you. Be careful of your environment. I've put a hole in the wall once trying to do this pose too close to the wall. Okay, so that's a bunch of unique vinyasas. And they're fun. They're great to start to try to put into your practice. In the next video, we're going to look at even more unique and even harder vinyasas from later in the primary series, and then going into the intermediate and advanced series as well. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you, Elena.